Hello there, I'm Jorge Varela for thebuttonsmashers.com, and here is our video review of Yomawari Night Alone for PS Vita. So the short version of the review goes like this. It is a simple but very subtle and profound coming-of-age story. Yomawari Night Alone is a really good horror game that left a big impression on me due to its memorable imagery, relatable setting, and a simple world full of mystery and adorable creepiness. It's a really short and easy game, but I enjoyed myself throughout the whole thing. I highly recommend PS Vita owners to buy it, or you can buy it on PC as well. Either way, it'll be a great experience. It has loads of suspenseful and thought-provoking fun. Now, the long version goes like this. Personally, I've never been a fan of horror games at all. I have actually thought of myself as too much of a scaredy cat to go through any of them. That, and I also think that most of them are pretty boring and fairly predictable when factoring out the jump scares. However, whenever the planets align, I come across a game or two that captivate me so much that I end up giving them a fair shot. Yomawari Night Alone is one of those games, and I love it. It is very simple in nature and definitely doesn't do anything revolutionary, but everything that it does is executed very well. The relatable setting of a small child wandering through the night is only made stronger by the game's simple but very clever and powerful tutorial. The game starts with a small, unnamed girl with her dog Poro staring into a large tunnel, and because tunnels are dark and scary, naturally they decide to walk back home. Here is where our story begins, teaching you the basics of the game. Without spoiling anything, here is the part where the player's careless, trivial actions make a big impact that are the cause of the entire story happening. Essentially, the dog goes missing, so the girl goes to her older sister for help. The also unnamed older sister eventually goes missing as well, and it is up to you to explore the dark streets alone in order to find them both. With only a flashlight, a few items, and a couple of hiding spots, Yomawari is not one for heavy action. As you walk around the silent streets, you will definitely bump into many kinds of ghosts and monsters that you can't really fight at all. Actually, all you need is to get hit once in order for you to die and then get booted to the last checkpoint. There's definitely no room for fighting here, so get ready to sneak past them, hide from them, or simply run away in the hopes that they don't get you. From this point forward is where the game really shines. The contrast of its cutesy art style and the crude, intense imagery of the monsters make for a creepy but compelling picture of two different worlds occupying the same space. Since most of the monsters are deeply rooted in Japanese ghost stories and folklore, many American players might not quote-unquote get it, but it still doesn't stop the game from giving you goosebumps from time to time. You don't necessarily have to know everything about Japanese history or folklore or anything to actually understand what's going on. What makes this game even more interesting is the fact that you will never see the same monsters in the same places. I've seen videos of people struggling or getting killed by certain ghosts that I've personally never seen before, or at least I never saw them until very late into the game. There are some enemies that only appear in certain areas, but you will never know that until you take the time to explore the town and find all of the many collectibles scattered around. Another important thing that adds to the great atmosphere is the sound, or, the lack of sound actually. Throughout the entirety of the game, there is zero music to be found, with the exception of the one singular song that plays during the end credits after you beat the game. This lack of music gives the sound effects some ample time to breathe as you walk around the empty, dark streets and faintly hear the sounds of vending machines as you walk by, faulty street lights, crickets, grass, dogs howling, and of course the whispers of the ghosts surrounding you. This is definitely the kind of game that you want to play with headphones on. These tiny details were pivotal in making the atmosphere as creepy as it was. I would be lying if I said that I didn't find myself in a situation like this in real life, of course minus the ghosts that want to kill you. But this makes the atmosphere not only relatable, but also very effective and believable. You would not catch me praising the sound in this game so much if it had an orchestrated soundtrack or employed some very heavy-handed action music for every time you see an enemy. This feeling that I get from playing this game is a prime example of having less can sometimes be more. You can even listen to your own heartbeat, which is an important mechanic in the game. Whenever the inevitable time comes when you have to deal with a ghost, your heartbeat will react as a radar in order to figure out how far or how close a ghost is to you, which is much more useful than having to point your flashlight at them all the time. Even though there are some objects like bushes and signs to hide in, I found some of my success in simply running away and making sure that I had enough energy in my meter to do so. Sometimes I would throw a rock to distract them, but yeah, most of my time was just running away. This meter usually takes a long time to run out, but it'll deplete quickly when a ghost is nearby. So there's almost a little bit of strategy to be had when confronting different enemies, since none of them will behave the same. In fact, there are a couple ghosts out there that won't attack you at all and kinda just sort of hang out. It's a small touch, but it fleshes out the world a little bit more and makes it feel just a bit more real when not every encounter with a ghost is so black and white. Now, speaking of black and white and one-sidedness, I came to realize that the game is very short and very easy to beat, despite the many enemies that constantly get in your way, and also despite the many times that you will die. The easiness of the game is clearly reflected on the checkpoint system. Scattered around the town, there are small statues that serve as checkpoints after you donate a coin to them, and after you die, you return to that checkpoint, but everything that you did prior to getting killed is not lost at all. For example, I've had moments where I needed to get a certain item in order to advance, let's say like a key to open a door, but there were monsters everywhere surrounding that key, so instead of coming up with a plan to sneak my way in and use my items intelligently and get the item and make it out alive, I instead ran in there, I barged in without really thinking, and tried to get the item as fast as possible. As long as I had it, it didn't really matter if I got killed. If anything, I welcomed it, since it would save me the time and trouble to walk all the way back to where I needed to use the item, essentially breaking the game in a couple situations. Why walk all the way back when I can just kill myself and just get back to the checkpoint? Since the enemy formation is never the same and you don't get any punishment for death, I was less encouraged to think outside the box in favor of just relying on trial and error to solve my problems. I do firmly believe that this game wasn't meant to be this super hardcore challenge and more of an atmospheric experience. However, it does seem to me that the stage was set for some clever puzzle solving or some strategic ways to confront enemies, but none of it is actually there, which would have served well to mix up the gameplay a bit and not have everything be so one-sided in my favor. Maybe having an option where you can adjust the difficulty level might have helped, but I'm not sure. What I am sure about now is that when the game is so easy, the fear of the ghosts kind of starts to wear off after a bit, which makes the shortness of it all more of an advantage since the game ends before it outstays its welcome. Even though I was able to beat the game in about, let's say, 3 to 4 hours, there is still more stuff to do after that, so you can definitely add a couple more hours if you decide to find all the collectibles and explore all of the other places that the story doesn't take you to. Personally, despite how easy it was and it really wasn't that big of a challenge at all, I had a ton of fun with all of it, and I'm definitely thinking of pursuing the Platinum Trophy for this one. Yomawari Night Alone was a very good and memorable experience for me. This very simple coming-of-age story, dressed in subtlety, creepiness, and a child's innocence, is made even better by the great use of sound, creative menus, well-designed enemies, and thought-provoking moments that makes it one of those games that you have to try at least once for a little bit. I complain about it being very short, but that's only because I want to see more of it. That world is interesting enough that I really want to explore it on a deeper level, maybe in a sequel or a prequel, or maybe a totally different story that takes place in the same universe. I don't know, but I just want to see more of it. Is that intriguing? I also talk about it being too easy, but I probably would have hated it if it were too hard. I probably wouldn't be able to explore as freely as I did if I had come across too many obstacles and too many puzzles and too many enemies always getting in my way. All the complaints I had are not even that bad, and I can kind of understand why those things are there. With that, I would like to give Yomawari Night Alone a pretty high recommendation, especially for PlayStation Vita players. Just sit back, relax, and let the night take you for a ride. Thank you very much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give this video a like. And of course, you can go to our website, thebuttonsmasher.com. We do news, we do reviews, and if you're a fan of podcasts, then be sure to visit that site because we have a lot of them. All of that content is created by really fun people that love what they do, so we highly appreciate your support.